What's up, everyone? Aaron Nagler here with Cheesehead TV. Time for today's Packers Daily Chat after a brutal loss in Washington. The Packers falling to the Redskins 31-17. Didn't even really feel that close. Packers have a whole host of issues to deal with, not the least of which, of course, are on the injury front. A number of them coming out of yesterday's game. Muhammad Wilkerson most likely lost for the year. Mike McCarthy didn't make it official today, but all reports would indicate that he is done for the 2018 season. Brutal loss for a guy who was on a one-year contract, trying to get to free agency next year healthy and trying to get a big deal. That will be put on the wayside, obviously. Duncan, hello, thank you for joining us. The other injuries of note, obviously, Brian Bulaga, still dealing with a back injury that made him miss much of the second half yesterday. McCarthy didn't have an update, as he always does on Monday. He did his little dance about having not been into the training room. We probably won't get full information on that, or at least the beginning of full information, until Wednesday. Aaron Rodgers continues to limp around. The Packers continue to limp around, essentially, as a team, with not much of an identity on either side of the ball. A lot of inconsistency, a lot of penalties, a lot of sloppy play, drops, what have you. Everything that could go wrong pretty much did at one point or another yesterday in Washington. That said, Packers are 1-1-1, something they have never been in the history of their existence. And they have to get ready now to face a Buffalo team that went into Minnesota yesterday and absolutely shocked the NFL world by putting a good licking on the Vikings in their house. So clearly the Packers can't take anyone lightly at this point. They have their own house to clean, as Mike McCarthy likes to say. And hello to everybody chiming in the comments. Steve, first of all, from Tokyo, hello. I don't know what time it is there, but it's amazing that you're here. Why does the offensive playbook look so dated? Well, Kyle, because it is. Very similar to everything they've been running under Mike McCarthy for a number of years. It's not that much different than the offense they were running 3, 4, 5 years ago. Meanwhile, you've got Andy Reid in his Kansas City offense, which is pulled from a number of different sources. You've got the San Francisco 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. You've got Sean McVay in LA. A lot of new blood coming up with new ideas, or Andy Reid aping new ideas and incorporating them into his West Coast offense. Mike McCarthy, however, running a lot of the same stuff, a lot of the same looks, a lot of the same personnel groupings, not very inventive. But the most inventive play you saw yesterday from a personnel, or actually a formation standpoint, was when they had the four-man cluster out to the left, and then they motioned Aaron Jones into the backfield and then ran him, basically on a wide zone. But yeah, it all looks the same because it all is pretty much the same. Not a whole lot of inventiveness. All that talk this offseason of rebuilding the playbook was much more about the internal workings of how they were calling things, much less about bringing in new scheme ideas and formations and route concepts. Feed Aaron Jones the ball, Marcus. I would have yesterday. He looked absolutely dynamite with the ball in his hand, but McCarthy, true to his word, was slow to mix him in. I think he had 6 touches by midpoint through the third quarter yesterday, which if I had seen that kid doing what he was doing the first couple times he touched the ball, I would have gotten him 15 touches by the time they rolled around to the second half. But McCarthy didn't want to throw him right into the mix, and it's not to diminish what Jamal Williams and Ty Montgomery were doing. They were running the ball pretty well, too. So, but I think there's no question Aaron Jones is your most dynamic runner, your most dynamic back out of the backfield, and they have to get him involved more. Michael says, Packers have it all in front of them. You've been listening to Mike McCarthy. Rodgers is still their quarterback. Winnable game on Sunday. Could be worse. That's true, Michael. It could be worse. Probability number 12 is kept out and rested for the next game. Gene, I'd be absolutely shocked. Aaron Rodgers was paid a bunch of money to play quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. He gives them their best chance to win. He wants to be out there. I can't imagine the organization saying, you know what, we're going to sit him down for a potential playoff run, which may never materialize if Rodgers doesn't play. I mean, nobody can sit here and tell me that they have any confidence whatsoever that the Green Bay Packers, as currently constructed, could win a game with DeShone Kizer at quarterback. I mean, those are just the facts. The facts as I see them anyway. Typical conservative McCarthy. I love these kind of comments. Of course, last week against the Vikings, he was too aggressive at the end. This week, he's too conservative. The guy can't win. I mean, Mike McCarthy didn't make Randall Cobb drop the ball twice. He didn't make Aaron Rodgers throw behind Devontae Adams, which caused his drop. He didn't make Lance Kendricks drop the ball when they were trying to rally in the fourth quarter. That's execution. That's not on McCarthy being aggressive or conservative. Players got to execute. Stefan, hi from Austria. Hope I pronounced that right, Stefan or Stefan. Would be nice to see the Packers bench Kentrell Bryce. Well, Jake, that's not going to happen. Mike McCarthy said earlier today he has all the confidence in the world in KB, as he tagged him. I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon, but I would think that a continuing saga, something to watch, is the Twitter feed of one Josh Jones, who last night put up on his Twitter feed that he just wanted to play and ball out, so to speak. Sure would suggest that maybe he was sat down yesterday as a healthy scratch. We don't know. He had said earlier last week that he planned on playing, and then he didn't even suit up. So something to watch there. Has Cobb ever had a problem with drops in the past? Dustin, he's dropped one or two along the way in his time. Every wide receiver has, but I don't remember him ever having an extended issue with it. You'll remember James Jones had a bad stretch back in the day. Clearly, much has been made about Jamon Moore's drops from training camp. Greg Jennings went through it. Jordy Nelson went through it. So, you know, guys do go through stretches where they have trouble catching the football, but it's never been a major issue for Randall. Nags, we need to cut Bryce and get Earl Thomas. Tommy, this is not fantasy football. And even though Ted Thompson is no longer in charge, Brian Gutekunst seems to operate very similarly in regards to how he constructs his roster. So as much as I know it's tempting to go try and get Earl Thomas, I don't see the Packers turning around and trading probably a second-round pick for the right to not just have him on their roster, but then to give him a huge contract extension. They were willing to do that with Mack because pass rushers affect the football game and they are much more valuable than any other position on the football field, or on the defensive side of the ball. Safety position, I don't see them making that kind of investment even for a significant upgrade like Thomas would be. And hey, the Seahawks finally won a game, so now they're 1-2 and maybe on the upswing, so maybe they don't want to deal. Where was Lewis yesterday? Well, Daniel, he was used sparingly. It's something that my buddy Andy Herman, who writes for Cheesehead TV, had a really good point. He has been used sparingly these first 3 weeks, and in every game he's had a blown block, a block where he has been either overwhelmed and or just completely flat out beaten. And you know, I think that's to be expected when a guy is thrown in there cold, you know, for a play here and a play there, like he has been. He isn't able to get in any kind of rhythm. Now that said, you get on the field, you got to produce. And his production, at least in the blocking department, has been spotty when it comes to pass protection. It's been fine in the run game. It just hasn't been used a whole heck of a lot. Myself, I would be putting him in there quite a bit more, especially with the way Jason Spriggs was looking in the second half in relief of Brian Bulaga yesterday. I mean, that kid's going to need some help, and Lewis would definitely provide it. This game reminded me a lot of the game a few seasons back where we went to Buffalo, got wrecked by their D, and Jordy had the wide open TD drop. We shot ourselves. Adam, I agree. It was similar feel in the sense that Rodgers and his receivers couldn't quite get in sync, and then when they finally did, that play you're talking about, I remember it well, it was a play action. He had him open deep, and Jordy just flat out dropped it, much like the Kendricks drop yesterday. You know, sometimes it's not your day, but you can still salvage the game, you know? The Packers couldn't even do that yesterday. When they came out in the second half and got the touchdown, a decent drive, ended in a touchdown, and then the defense got a 3-and-out. That was their time. That was their window to take the game over. But then they come back out, there's a holding penalty, they get behind the sticks, and then they have the Cobb drop on 4th down. You know, that pretty much summed up the game. They were behind the sticks constantly. They couldn't overcome their own mistakes, and they did shoot themselves in the foot way too much. Has the NFL pointed out a sack that is the way to do it? It seems like they can point out what not to do, but have yet to point out how to do it. Hey, man, if you see it, let me know. Did I see Bell out there getting owned yesterday? If he's a regular, we are in deep poop emoji. Well, Daniel, he is a better guard than a tackle, but he is not very good at this point in his career. We'll see if McCray is able to go. McCray is probably the best option still, but you know, you'll probably see some Bell. You might see some Patrick. McCarthy has said they can't determine what that starting 5 is going to look like until Wednesday at the earliest. I feel bad for Mo, but honestly, I didn't see much out of him to think he's a big loss. I don't know, Kyle. You know, he wasn't a great playmaker, but I don't think he's designed to be in this defense. You know, he's supposed to take up blocks. He's supposed to affect the pocket, and he hustled big time on every play I ever saw in a Green Bay Packers uniform. Those are things that, sure, some of that can be replicated, but not all of it. Montravius Adams is going to have to step up. Kyle Lowry obviously is supposed to step up, but yeah, we'll see how things progress. Maybe it changes how Pettine calls his game a little bit. Maybe a little more two-man line, but you can only wait and see. Oh, Brian, that's very nice of you. It's all right, man. The hater's going to hate, right? That's really nice of you, though, Brian. Was the plan for them to ease Burks in so much? Thought he'd play more. You know, McCarthy indicated last week that he'd probably primarily be used on special teams, at least his first game back. I would expect to see more of him from scrimmage as the year goes on, though. Are there any rumors we could go in on Le'Veon Bell? No, Kevin. No rumors. This ain't fantasy football. Le'Veon Bell wants to be paid a huge amount of money. I'll say it again, like I said a little bit before when it comes to Earl Thomas. The Packers were willing to pay Khalil Mack because he is a pass rusher, a most important player on that side of the football. Affecting the opponent's ability to throw the forward pass is always going to be in demand and important, and the Packers were willing to pay him. The Packers are never, ever, 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 ever going to pay a running back $24 million whatever dollars a year that Le'Veon Bell is looking for. That's just not going to happen. The Packers have clearly shown that they have devalued the running back position as far as where they're going to allocate their resources, even for a player as good as Le'Veon Bell, and he is amazing. You know, they would get him, and then what would McCarthy do? Probably have him in a platoon with Ty Montgomery, Jamal Williams, Aaron Jones. It just doesn't make any sense. Oh, Kyle, that's not very nice of you. Charles is a good guy. Whatever happened with Cole Madison? He's an O-line guy. Yes, he is an O-line guy, Corey. He never reported. All the Packers have ever said is that it's a personal issue that he is dealing with. Kevin King is not living up to expectations. 0 INTs and always getting injured. Well, he can't control the always getting injured. That's part of football. But the 0 INTs, he's had a few looks. It's funny because he said last week, there was a play where he had Stephon Diggs completely blanketed, and Kirk Cousins throws a really bad ball. And he says, you know, it's always when you're in position that they throw the bad ball. They never throw the bad ball when you're out of position, or they always throw a good ball when you're beat. So I think those INTs will come. I think he's a quality player, and you've seen how his not being in the lineup affects the defense. I mean, he may not be Dion in his prime, but he is a quality corner, and those are hard to come by in the NFL. Tanyan, please, need an injection of youth. I don't know about that. I think we just need an injection of somebody who can catch the football. Maybe that is Tanyan. You know, Kendricks clearly had a bad drop yesterday. He's been up and down so far through 3 weeks of the year, but he is a vet. He's played a lot. We'll see. Maybe they bring Tanyan on a little bit. He was out there on special teams yesterday. Maybe they get him from snaps from scrimmage as the year goes on. We don't need a running back. Well, William, I hear you. MVS played well. I would agree with that. Thoughts on Mike Daniels' performance so far this season? He's been good, not great. He's done a lot as far as winning with his initial move, but he hasn't been affecting the quarterback probably the way you would like him to. Now, some of that is on the quarterback's ability to get the ball out of their hands really quick, and some of that is just Daniels not getting home. But I think down in and down out, he does a lot of dirty work, and he's still one of the better players on that defense. Do you blame the coaching for them coming out so flat yesterday? Partly. I mean, just because it's the coach's responsibility, right? It's, you know, the team is a reflection of the head coach and the coaching staff. And they gave the players off on Wednesday. Rodgers didn't practice till Saturday. A lot of different kind of moving parts. And they were mostly a healthy team outside of Rodgers and Kevin King heading into this game. So you would think they would come out firing on all cylinders, but they did anything but. They looked disorganized on defense. They were sloppy on offense, and they got behind real quick, and that was basically the tail of the game. They spent the rest of the afternoon trying to crawl out. Now, as I said before, you can't put the drops on McCarthy, and you can't put the the errant passes by Rodgers on McCarthy, but some of that is due to perhaps a lack of preparation, a lack of focus, and that comes back to coaching. So it's symbiotic. I wouldn't put it all on the coaching staff. I wouldn't put it all on Mike McCarthy, but the buck does stop with him, and ultimately he is responsible for having his team ready to play, and they clearly were not yesterday. Is Bulaga's back serious, Dustin? We don't know yet. We won't get word until Wednesday, probably, maybe Tuesday night at the earliest, but we'll see. I tell you what, they're in a world of trouble if Bulaga's out for any extended period of time. The Bills had one good game. We should beat them easily. Kyle, is this your first year watching the NFL? Any given Sunday, man. They should have beat the Redskins easily, but they didn't. Anything can happen, man. One game at a time. Can you let McCarthy know it's okay to convert first downs utilizing 1 or 2 downs? We don't always have to go to 3 and 4. Daniel, I'm sure he would love to. He converted many first downs on first down yesterday in his running game. Aaron Jones did it a couple times. It's not like McCarthy's sitting there going, I can't wait to get the 3rd down. Do you think Rodgers actually had a scotch when he got home? 1,000%, Zach. I know I did. Tough day for the wide receivers. We don't usually say that. Corey, I agree. It was a rough day at the office for almost all of them. Other than that, I think MVS played pretty well. But, yeah, you know, uncharacteristic drops and a fumble from Randall Cobb. Albeit the pass was behind him, but for me, that's a drop from Adams there on that play in the first half. Yeah, Adams did have the touchdown, but you know, for the most part, yeah, that's a forgettable day for your wide receivers. Although I will say, once again, Geronimo Allison came to play. Probably the most consistent player on offense at this point through 3 weeks. And that's saying something for a guy who a lot of people were questioning this summer. But he's been rock solid for them so far. Did Josh Jones play any? No, Roger. He was inactive. Much, apparently, to the chagrin of Mr. Jones, if you check his Twitter account. Do you think the turf conditions had anything to do with some of the bad play? Yeah, I guess, but Washington was playing on it too. They didn't stop them from getting, putting up 28 points. It's an even playing field. More fact roll, please. Oh, Michael. You trying to make me drink, man? What are you doing? Am I in the stages of grief, or is there a possible silver lining to having these issues early rather than right before the playoffs, assuming we are in? Well, don't assume anything. I mean, this team that you saw yesterday, playoffs? Playoffs? But, yeah, you could look at it that way, silver lining, sure. Much rather have it early than late. You're always going to be trying to find your identity early in the year. That is no doubt about that. But you definitely don't want to look that bad and that poorly prepared. Issues you're working through or whatever. You'd like to come out of the gate firing a little bit more on all cylinders. Why isn't AJ getting more touches with, 6 or 7 yards per catch? AJ. Yeah, I don't know. Good question. The Bears are in first place. What year is this? Oh, Stefano, it's September. Come back to me in December. Our defensive identity is bipolar. I think that's clear. Adam, they sure have yet to put a complete game together. There's no doubt about that. Why do the Packers overreact so much? We lost to the Skins and Finns in back-to-back weeks in 2010. Oh, why? Kyle, I'm imagining you're saying why do Packers fans overreact so much? Not the Packers, because I don't think the Packers overreact. I tend to agree. Yes, they most certainly, Packer fans that is, tend to overreact to a loss. But that's human nature. That's the nature of fandom. But you are correct. They did lose to the Redskins and the Dolphins in back-to-back weeks, in overtime, both of those games, in 2010. And even after that, they lost to the Detroit Lions, couldn't score a point in Detroit before Rodgers went out with a concussion. And everyone said season was over, fire Mike McCarthy, and then they went on and won the Super Bowl. So you absolutely do have to let it play out. You are correct there. All right, everybody, I'm going to have to jump. Thank you so much for all the questions. I'm sorry if I couldn't get to yours. There's a ton of them here, a ton of you guys here today. Thanks so much for checking it out. Just a reminder, if you want to get your question on the chat, make sure you're on the Cheesehead TV page. I know this gets blasted out a lot of different places, including my own page, but if you want me to see the question, make sure you're on Cheesehead TV's Facebook page. That's the best way for me to see your question. Thank you so much, everyone. Barring any breaking news overnight, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks a lot.